I was pretty heavily recruited. I'm talking like Ivy League schools, like we still got all the letters, like handwritten letters, Columbia, Harvard, all these places reaching out to me. I personally didn't want to go to a school in which I knew I was getting accepted because of my athletic performance, because I knew socially I wouldn't really vibe with that crowd if I wasn't on their intellectual level. So I wanted to go somewhere where I was going to be celebrated and not questioned.
You're motivated by the fear of not being average. In today's society, I say this all the time to people that ask me, like, Trey, what drives you? What makes you want to get up and, be on vacation and shoot videos? It's like, I don't want to be average. And we back, Decoding Two Sides of the System 2023. First episode. I'm very, very excited. Before I start, I got my main man with me every show, aka Big Stepper, Goof. You know what I'm saying? Got a little king symbol. We can't really see the whole thing because of the chair, but I'm your host, King Trey. I got somebody that's very special. We got Blair Henderson here. We talk about All-American, former All-American track runner. Man, this man write books. This man own properties. This man train all type of people around the world. It's crazy. He from the same town as me too. Went to middle school together, which is crazy. I still remember that FK. So yeah, man. Welcome Blair Henderson to the show, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
I just want to say, man, just seeing your accomplishments, even when you was in school, running it up with the track, and just seeing now just the businessman that you become, and also just a provider. Like you have a wife and things. So I just kind of want to give people, like, just introduce yourself to the people, let them know who you are, what you do.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, like you said, my name is Blair. Blair Henderson. I'm from Lake Charles, Louisiana. Kind of been all over the place since then. I haven't lived out there since high school, but definitely where my roots were at. And now I'm located in Houston, Texas. So at this point, I'm in my career working, like you said. I got married last year, so really just looking to try and help other people avoid some of the mistakes that I made and kind of learn from some of the lessons that I've learned through my own experiences since living in Lake Charles and being in grade school, and then as I ventured off and experienced the world, so to speak, just a lot of things that I encountered and found out about myself and just life in general that has helped me to get to where I am at this point.
For sure. And getting to where you are at this point, it don't come without sacrifice, and it don't come without like a belief in yourself. And you're online and you're constantly giving out motivation. And I just want to say, like, where does that mindset come from of like wanting to help others?
So it's honestly, it came from trauma.
Okay.
Personally, I've always been a very, I would say since about eighth grade, I've been a very, very self-disciplined, motivated, and driven individual. But that wasn't the case, and I didn't realize that up until later in my life. What caused that, right? What sparked that, and just through, as I mentioned before, going through life and learning more about myself and that sort of thing, I started to recognize that I was essentially craving attention and acceptance, but I did so in a way that was positive or seen as positive, right? So a lot of times you wouldn't see what I was doing as a negative thing or like a coping mechanism, but the reality of it is the attention that I didn't get in childhood, I got from adults through my successes. So I became addicted to success. And so for me, if you told me, hey, you can be successful if you do A, B, and C, and I know that all I got to do is A, B, and C, and you gave me the blueprint on how to be successful, well, that's easy. I don't know how to figure it out. And so for me, I just kind of buried myself into always being like very goal driven. And that's what allowed me to kind of continue. Once I saw a little bit of success, then it was kind of like a domino effect, because then I started to be motivated off of my previous successes. So I didn't need external motivation at that point, because I knew, well, I already went. I've been through this. I've been through this. I've been through this. There's no way I can't do this at this point. And so it just kept building. And so anything that I put my mind to, it was almost as if it was like, okay, like this isn't even as big as what I previously have faced. And because of that, that's kind of what the driving force, really where it started. And then because I didn't do sports really, I didn't run track until I got to high school.
Right. Yeah, I
And
remember that. You used to be a basketball player.
and
I remember that.
I didn't do track until I got to high school. But once my coach, who really believed in me, told me, you have the opportunities to go and be the greatest in Louisiana history, which, you know, it it meant a whole lot at the time in the grand scheme of things. When you look in hindsight, you look at, the rest of the country, what I was doing wasn't as competitive as a lot of people around me thought. But because Louisiana's competition meter in regards to the events that I did was so low, I just fueled off of the successes, right?
Mhm.
So through having someone kind of pour into me the positivity and the you can, I realized that I just bought into that. And by just buying into that, I just continued to pursue everything as if I couldn't fail. And it worked in its favor most of the time until it didn't. And that's kind of why I try to encourage people and try to motivate people, because they may not have that in their circle. They may not have that in their immediate life. And doing so in a way that empowers them to actually take action on the things that they say that they want to do, rather than kind of dwelling on, do I go this way? Do I go that way? I think I can do it, but I don't really know. What if I fail? I'm scared of that. I never really had those doubts, because I was so confident, because I was receiving the confidence from those around me. And so because everybody doesn't have that type of circle in that group, most times if you try to do something, the people around you will project their doubts about what they feel like they can't do. And that's kind of something that, just kind of going through life, I recognized, and I was like, okay, once I have my story, then I'll be able to not only feed off of that myself, but help other people to feed off of the successes that I've experienced, but also understand that they weren't always a crystal stairway, and that there's ups and downs through that entire process. And recognizing those ups and downs is crucial, because if you don't, it can be very easy for the outside to look at it and say, oh, well, everything was just easy for you. Or and they can't relate to that. So I choose to be as authentic as possible, so that people can see this was great, but there was a lot of other stuff going on that you didn't see. And so that's kind of where I am now. As I continue to grow, I want to continue to show both sides of the coin, not just all bestseller, all American, etc., which is great.
Right.
But it's important to know that that's not everything, because if it does become everything, the moment it isn't working in your favor, then you have nothing, because you then have identified yourself with what it is that you're doing, and that's what I did. And
No.
so that's one of the things that I had to come to terms and recognize myself. So yeah.
Sure. And that's amazing. That's amazing. Just information to give, and I hope y'all decoding what he's saying. Like a lot of people might look at your successes. It's kind of like that in my household too. Being able to travel all around the world, play basketball, and just get that college degree. You know how it is in Lake Charles and our town. Like once you leave, people are like, "Oh, you're doing something." You know what I'm saying? Then when you come
Hmm.
back, you're like the man or whatever, or you're like how would I say, like just a role model, like you're the standard whenever you go do something that nobody else have seen. And people don't
Hmm.
really understand that in between that, it's a lot of stuff that go in between that, like of you fighting your own trauma, or you going through your own hardships, or you just having to stand in the light of like, man, mentally I'm going through a lot. Like, yeah, this race might look good, but I was watching the interview and you were like, man, once I lost in the SEC, I'm like, wait, what's going on? I don't lose.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Going through that stage of like that depression. Even I heard you talk about just doing. I'm really good with research, but you were like You know what I'm saying? You were like the Trinidad dude. Whenever you got beat, whenever he smiled at you and you were running and you really thought you had him, but just that mental confidence of like, dang, like this dude knew he was gonna beat me, and I was sitting there running my hardest, and this is just after I leave this bubble of being the man. But like people don't understand that those hard years, those first 2 years before you're about to dip out, you're like, damn, like this really might not be for me. The doubt, the self-doubt that you have within yourself that you had to overcome. Like that might be a small thing, but people don't really understand that. Like before you were All-American Blair, you were Blair that couldn't get past the first 2 rounds. You know what I'm saying? Like that's two different people. You know what I'm saying? But it's a whole different story within that. Like those lessons of what you had to overcome, but help you become, Blair of, the All-American and stuff. So I most totally agree with that. And just another thing I want to get to, what's his name that really started all this track stuff? Justin Griffin getting hurt. You know what I'm saying? Justin Griffin getting hurt. Like I kind of want to get just let everybody know just a story of how you even started track, like, which is crazy.
Yeah, for sure. So for those who don't know me, so we went to the same middle school, right? And so growing up, sixth, seventh grade, in Louisiana, you have to try out for sports. In a lot of other states, you don't really have that. Everyone just kind of makes the team. And so all of my friends did sports. I wanted to do sports. I was super excited about, being able to do that once I got to middle school. Unfortunately, I tried out for every sport in sixth grade, didn't make any teams. Tried out for every sport in seventh grade, didn't make any teams. I tried out for every sport in eighth grade, and I actually didn't make the team. It wasn't until about midway through the eighth grade season that they came and got me out of a regular PE class and asked me to start playing basketball. And I played for about half of that season before going to Hamilton Christian. The reason why I went to Hamilton Christian because it was the smallest school in the city, and I felt like that was the only opportunity I was going to have to play sports. The graduation class that was there when I went visit the school was about 28 people. That's how small the school was. So I ended up going to Hamilton because I felt like that was my only opportunity to play sports. So I went there and I played basketball, and basketball is my first love. I really enjoyed the sport. I really wanted to do well in the sport. Unfortunately, I just wasn't good enough in order to get to where I wanted to get. Now, one of the coaches at the school came and approached me in a PE class and was like, "Hey, man, you should do track." And I was like, "Nah, I don't think I'm good on that." I tried out for track in high school, in middle school. I didn't make the team, so I'm not that much faster now. I was like, "Oh, you should do it. You should do it." So he came to me like every day for like probably like 3, 4, I don't know how long, but he was just consistently, "Hey, you should do track. You can be great. Hey, you should do track. You can be great." And I'm like, "What does this man keep talking about doing track for? Like, what does he see in me to do track?" And so, eventually, one of my friends convinced me to join the track team, not to run track, but to do the jumps because I was a basketball player, and I thought, okay, this will help me with my vertical. The only reason I actually decided to do it was because of the free food that you get at track meets. It's co-ed, so that meant there was going to be girls there. And nobody watches the field event. So if I'm done before the whole meet even start, nobody even sees me not do well. So I didn't really care that much about track.
I gotta stop you midway. This man said, "Girls, free food,
and you get out of school early."
Yeah, but where we from, that's literally what you chasing. I gotta go for Team Jordans. You pulling up to practice in Team. Keep going.
I had never seen tracks. I had never seen track spikes before in my life. I was like, man, let me just go get some cheap shoes. I'm gonna just jump in these. I had some Team Jordans, and I was probably like a 5'2" high jumper, which is terrible. It was like opening height for like girls. So like I would just run up and hit the bar 3 times. I jump. If I didn't do well, I know I'm not gonna hit the last one. I act like I ain't care. I just hit the bar and go sit down, go talk to girls. So that's what I did for the beginning of the track season. And then eventually Justin Griffin, who you mentioned earlier, got injured at a track meet, and they were like, "Hey Blair, we need you to run. You're an alternate." I'm like, "All right, whatever." So it's like, "Hey, you're gonna run the 4x4." And I'm like, "Okay." So I went back to the group. The group meaning the team area. I'm like, "Hey, I'm about to run a 4x4." And I'm like, "Oh, good luck with that." And
Doubting
I'm like, okay. So then so I called my brother. I'm like, hey man, they got me running. I'm not doing a field event today. I'm running the 4x4. He was like, 4x4? Oh man, good luck. I said, why everybody saying it like that? So I go to my coach. I say, coach, what's a 4x4? He say, you gonna run one lap? And I'm like, just one? And he was like, yeah. And he was like, I was like, oh, okay. And so he was like, well, you just do the best you can. I'm like, it's just one lap. Not knowing,
yeah.
a 400, you know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
long story short, they ended up, I got the stick. I was the second runner out of four, which means I'm responsible for cutting into lane one. You get a sticker with a 4 on it. Everybody gets a different number sticker for the lane. Once you run around the curve, you break into lane one. Nobody told me that. So I ran the whole lap in lane 4. And we the whole time the coach is yelling, break, 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 for us to cut into lane 1. And I don't know track terms. I'm only a jumper.
So you took
So
a
break to
break.
me means slow down. So I'm like, I'm sitting here, I'm yelling at him while I'm running. Why? Why you want me to slow down while I'm running? Everybody else is in lane 1, and I'm looking like they all getting DQ'd. Like there's his sticker say 5, his say 6. They all in lane 1. I'm in lane 4. I'm staying in lane 4. Long story short, we get on the back stretch. I slow down a little bit because coach keep telling me to break. The guy passing me up. He said, "How you feel?" I'm like, "Why you kept telling me to slow down?" He's like, "I didn't tell you to slow down. I told you to break in." It's like, I don't know what that means. He's like, "How you feel?" I'm like, "I'm good. You told me to slow down." It's like, "Oh, you not tired?" It's like, it was just one lap. Mentally, it wasn't as big of a barrier or a challenge because I didn't know it to be a challenge. I was looking at it as one. I wasn't looking at it as 400 meters. Right? It's the same thing that happens with like the 4-minute mile. No one thought it was possible to break a 4-minute mile until somebody did. And then now everybody knew how everybody starts breaking the 4-minute mile. It's like the 2-hour marathon. Until it happens, nobody thinks it can happen. But once it happens, you've broken that barrier mentally and you're able to do so. So long story short, with that aspect of track and field, that's how I was introduced to the sport. And then as it continued to progress, I just kept looking at it like, this is one lap, this is 2 laps, this is 4 laps. And if we're gonna go longer, we're going slower, I can do that. And so through working with that coach, I ended up, really starting to develop as an athlete. And I ended up giving up basketball because he told me that I'd be able to get a scholarship in track. And nobody had told me that for basketball. So I was like, hold on, I can get a scholarship?
Yeah.
Like, oh no, let me see what's going on. So my high school career, I ended up, I believe 4 or 5 times state champion in Louisiana.
Man, Michael Jordan of
And
the town type,
it
everybody.
was, it took off. It took off. But I was like zoned in though. Like, you gotta understand, like, I'm like, the summer I'm running, I'm lifting, I'm doing all this other stuff. Like, it was no more. I was like on a college regimen and like the 10th grade, like, because I really wanted to get that scholarship. And everybody around me who was already playing sports, I felt like they had a head start. Because again, this is 10th grade. 10th grade was the first year that I was going into the year with the intentions of running track. And I fractured my leg that year.
Dang, that's crazy.
I fractured my leg that year, my 10th grade year, and I missed the outdoor season. So my junior and senior year are the only full years of track that I had.
Damn.
So that's kind of how it. But even still, even through fracturing my leg, even through having a heart condition that happened on my junior year, and then having to have surgery over my chest right 4 months before the state meet. Damn. And then recovering from that and going through the mental ups and downs of that, being told I was never going to be able to do sports again, never be able to run again.
How was that for you? Like mentally?
It was, man. It was. Imagine everything you wanted, you didn't think you can have. Right. You've been told you can have it. You put the work in, and now you're telling me I can't have it anymore. Right. And so for me, it was a very, very hard time because I was back and forth. Basically, what happened is a state track meet, state cross country meet. I ran cross country to build my endurance up. State cross country meet, I passed out. about 100 meters left in the race, I was in first place. I fell, woke up, started crawling, stood up, collapsed. It was a whole little theatric thing, right? So I finished. I was throwing up. They rushed me to the hospital. It was a crazy old deal. They didn't know what caused it. They didn't know what was wrong. So I have a family history of heart murmurs and heart conditions. So they did all these tests on me, and they decided that, until they figure out what's going on, I probably shouldn't do sports anymore. So I went to Houston to the cardiologist, and they were like, hey, we're not going to clear you to do sports at this time. Just rest. And this is me now at my junior year, after already, competing in my sophomore year and being introduced to the sport. My sophomore year, I won the state championship. Our team won the state championship. So going into my junior year now, you're telling me I can't ever do sports again. So at that point, it was a very, I was going through it. And so my mom got me through that. My mom got me through that time. Because I wasn't a big religious person. Right. And at that time, my mom was saying stuff that didn't make any sense to me. I was just like, mom would call me and be like, put your hand over your heart. I'm like, what? Put your hand over your heart. I'm going to pray for you through the phone. I'm like, but what are you talking about, man? Like, come on, man. So she used to do all that, and I ain't gonna lie. Like, at the time, it didn't make sense to me, but in hindsight, it kept me afloat. And then as I matured and as I started to see things work out, because again, I said 4 months before the state meet, I had a device implanted over my chest to monitor my heart rate. The reason why that was implanted over my chest is because initially they said I couldn't compete. They made my mom sign a waiver saying that the hospital wasn't liable if I decided to compete. So now we're going off of what the hospital says, and they said, okay, well, if you're going to do this, we want to monitor what's going on with your heart. So originally they placed the EKG. I had to put pads all over my chest and have a monitor on my hip. And I ran a track meet with all these wires bouncing. And I said, I can't do this. We went back to Houston, and they implanted it right over my chest. All right. So now I returned back, and I haven't been able to train this entire time. I returned back to training. We start running again. And 4 months later, I broke the state record. And so and I didn't train. So it was, again, you looking at being told you're never going to be able to compete again. Being told you in middle school, being told you weren't good enough to be to be participating in sports. Right. And then to see the barriers and then overcome the barriers and then the perseverance. It's just, to me, at that point, I'm just like, okay, well, I think I kind of got this. And so that's where it started.
Right. I definitely want to go on to the with you breaking that record, right? I watched that interview, and the lady says in the interview, because I think you were even shocked, but the lady said, like, pre in the interview, and I seen you, like, you kind of like glanced and smiled. She was like, yeah, somebody that you just broke somebody's record that ran at LSU, and in your mind it clicked. You were like, oh yeah, well, if he can do it, I can do it too. That was kind of like your last words for the interview. And what's crazy is you were supposed to go to TCU, but obviously, LSU came out with the red carpet and they got you with the bottles and the girls or whatever. And but it was just crazy to that moment of like, when soon as she said it, you didn't even think twice. You were like, nah, I can do it. But that's probably because when your mind, you went through all this. So you like, nah, any obstacle I can overcome because I just went through all this and I just broke this state record. Like, you're interviewing me, you don't even know what just happened. You know what I'm saying? And side note to that, a lot of people don't realize, because I live in Portland, I be trying to tell them, like, the hospital systems that we have is not like y'all's. Y'all are very much advanced. So, like, what people don't know is you were in Lake Charles with all this heart monitor stuff. You had to drive to Houston to get the stuff that's implanted. Like, we don't really have healthcare systems in place like that for us when we're sick, or for, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially out here, like, I've seen, they had a girl when I was in college. She got hit by a drunk driver. She was on her way to practice, and that impact, I was like, man, if she would have been Louisiana, she probably would have died. Just because we don't even have those resources to have saved her like they did. You know what I'm saying? That's a real thing. Like, as you know, we all got family in Lake Charles. They get really sick, they going to Houston. Or they going to Dallas. Like, you know, we getting up out of there for sure. Like, nobody, like, you're not even going enough to go to the hospitals. But yeah, like a lot of people don't understand. Like when you come from these smaller towns, like we really don't have the resources, and some people take that for granted. You know, and I had to tell some of my friends, hey, don't take what y'all have out here for granted, because you know we don't have those type of things.
Right. When they were trying to figure out what was going on with my heart initially, they gave me a stress test in Lake Charles. Okay. The stress test, for those who don't know, they're essentially trying to duplicate the conditions in which you had the episode. And for me, I told you I passed out. I was crawling. I was blacking out. The end of that story was I passed out and I didn't remember any of that stuff. And so what ended up happening was when they tried to duplicate the scenario in the hospital in Lake Charles ran out of paper because I ran so long. So there's paper that records your heart rate as you're running on a treadmill while they steadily increase the incline and increase the speed. Typically, you're going to be on a stress test, let's say like 15, maybe 20 minutes if you're considered like elite. I just kept running. I never passed out. I never felt it. The incline was as high as it can go and the speed was as high as it can go for a stress test. And so they ran out of paper. So they had to stop the test. So then they did it again in Lake Charles. Same situation occurred. I didn't have the episode. So they sent me to Houston and I did another stress test. After the Houston stress test didn't show anything, they purposely made me hyperventilate myself in a bag to try to pass out and see what my heart did. This was all to try and duplicate the situation to figure out what was going on.
Right.
And it's funny you mentioned the TCU thing, because the reason TCU did not fulfill their offer was because of their concerns with these health conditions.
From your heart.
So they were aware of it, and TCU was very much working with the doctors and working with them to get an understanding. Because again, if my junior year you tell me I can never do sports again, TCU's not going to offer me that year. LSU didn't care about any of that. LSU was like, you want to be here or what? And so me being in high school, I'm thinking TCU don't want me. They're only worried about my health. They don't care about me running. They don't care about my school. LSU cares about the performance. So they said, if you're still able to break records after having implants in your chest, we don't care about, as long as you're good, as long as you're able to healthy, or you feel healthy, then we'll just keep going. And that's kind of what determined, the decision, honestly. But it was a hard time.
No, for sure. And I kind of want to piggyback to your mom. Your mom has always been someone that has helped you, have motivated you, always been in your corner, and always try to lead you the right way. And for your mom to say she don't like the school systems in Louisiana, that she didn't want you to go to LSU, you know what I'm saying? Like, that shows a thing of character of like, nah, like, you're a great athlete, but this education is going to push you forward. Like, and a lot of times, especially in our culture, with black culture, I was just in Lake Charles, they're still pushing the athletic thing, but they're not really talking about the education. And now with social media and stuff, you kind of don't really need, you need some type of form of education, but you can really just get off by making money on social media. But people don't really understand that sometimes whenever you're going to a college or you're pursuing a better education, it's the people that you're around that help you further. Like, you going to college can help you meet somebody that can change your life. And then that person could, you know what I'm saying? And it becomes a trickle-down effect. But I think, like, still in the black communities, we struggle with this all the time, is these people are seeing these $250 million deals. They seeing all these NBA players, all these people signing for money, and they're looking at the money, so they're throwing their kids in training, they're doing this, but they're not really focused on this educational type thing. And I don't mean educational in school, I mean educational life. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's becoming a trickle-down effect. Like, I just read something the other day with an Alabama player killing a girl because she didn't give him a phone number. You know what I'm saying? And that's education, because that's stuff that you have to learn. That is beyond sports. He was a Division I athlete at a Power 5. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of the times those lessons get misconfused. But for your mom to say that, and then also it's funny because when you went to LSU, the coach got fired. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, like you sitting there as a man, like, dang, like, damn, my mama told me about this. And then also with the long story short, the coach, the guy that they idolized at TCU, that's the guy that ended up being your coach at LSU. So it ran around full circle. But even
Mm-hmm.
with going through all that, for your mom to sit there and be like, baby, look, education wise, you know what I'm saying? But then the side note is, oh, okay, I'm a man. I made this decision. Now I gotta live in this, mom, and I messed it up. But a lot of people think once you're a Division I athlete, everything is cool. Please explain to them what happened for you for your scholarship, how they lowballed you, they didn't even give you a full, and the stuff that you had to go through, because people don't really understand that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think nowadays there might be a little more assistance when it comes to the recruiting process and really understanding like what goes into that and what to look out for.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the number two 800 runner time wise in the country and going into my senior year. So I was pretty heavily recruited,
Right.
and I'm talking like Ivy League schools. Like we still got all the letters, like handwritten letters, Columbia, Harvard, all these places reaching out to me. I personally didn't want to go to a school in which I knew I was getting accepted because of my athletic performance, because I knew socially I wouldn't really vibe with that crowd if I wasn't on their intellectual level.
Right.
And at that time, I wasn't. And so I wanted to go somewhere where I was going to be celebrated and not questioned. And so TCU was a great place for me. I really enjoyed the visits there. But again, that's kind of what happened with that. LSU, however, was a different environment. LSU wasn't what I thought it was going to be. When I got there, I realized it what the SEC is. It's cutthroat,
Okay.
right? It's cutthroat, meaning this is a business. This isn't a family. We're
Mm-hmm.
here for a purpose, right? And so because of that, you can be gone next year. Your scholarship is a year to year basis, right?
Mm.
And so when I got recruited, they told me they were going to give me a full scholarship. Everybody was. Now the issue was in the state of Louisiana, if you graduate with, I believe, a 2.5 GPA, because the education system is so poor, you are entitled to free tuition to any in-state institution. A 2.5 GPA, I believe that's the bare minimum of graduation in the state of Texas. Now, with that being said, I graduated with a 3.8,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't do well in testing, meaning like the ACT or SAT.
Mm-hmm.
So LSU knew I was going to have a full scholarship academic wise because of the scholar for the in-state scholarship.
Right.
They told me they were going to give me a full scholarship because they were going to pay the difference in what was
Mm.
still owed,
Right.
meaning meals, books, housing, that kind of thing. Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
not a full. That's a full on contention of everything else that I have going on. And so I ended up, like I said, I committed to them and everything. And then at the moment of receiving my national letter of intent, the NLI, on signing day, and I saw what was actually going on, I sent it back. I said, I'm not signing this. This is not what you
Right.
told me that you were going to give me. And I immediately called TCU. And TCU was like, hey, we sent your paper to somebody else already. If they don't sign, you can come here. But we only had one scholarship and we already given it away. But I told
Mm-hmm.
LSU, I got another offer for full. So unless you guys are going to own up to what it is that you said, I'm not going there. So they said, if you have another offer, then go there. So I said, all right. The signing day passed. I didn't sign anywhere. The next day they faxed the NLI to the school with all of the changes that were necessary for me to get the amount of money that I was told I was going to receive, and so I ended up signing and getting there. Now that was still under the contingency of me performing well, because if it's a year to year scholarship, if I don't meet the criteria, then I can potentially lose the money. So
Mm-hmm.
now the pressure's on,
Right.
but I'm betting on myself because of my previous successes. Unfortunately, the SEC is the SEC. So my first 2 years were brutal.
Right.
I probably lost less than 10 races in high school total, and 3 or 4 of them were national meets. So I wasn't losing. I won state by like 100 meters, but that wasn't because I was just so great. It's because Louisiana just wasn't very competitive. But I knew that at that age. So going into college, I was taking L after L after L after L, racing against Olympians, which going into this, I didn't even know Olympians were allowed to run in college.
I
I
didn't know
thought
that
that meant
either.
you were pro.
I didn't know that either.
But
That's crazy.
I'm competing with people who are now all, at this point, after the last Olympics, Olympians and Olympic caliber athletes. And
Right.
so I was frustrated mentally. I struggled because I wasn't used to losing. It was like that Kevin Garnett interview. I'm losing. I don't lose. I don't understand losing. I've been winning. I'm doing everything right. Because remember, if they told me to do A, B, and C, you're going to get this result. I'm doing A, B, and C. But that didn't factor in what everybody else had going on, talent, all this other stuff.
Right.
So I had to learn how to lose and it not define who I was. Because up until that point, I identified with what I did. Meaning that if I performed well, I was good. If I don't perform well, I'm not good enough.
Right.
Right? And so that was a back and forth that I had to learn to mentally not pull myself in a position that I am, self-destructing because of something that I don't have control over. Right? I don't have control over somebody who I'm in a race with an Olympic caliber athlete. And I don't have that talent level. I don't have that skill set, right? I just got to do the best that I can do, and that's something I had to learn because I wasn't. That was new to me. Because for so long I had just been winning, so it was a challenge for me, for sure.
Yeah.
And then when I had the money removed, going into my sophomore year, based off of my freshman year, that's when it really hit the fan because I had the money removed and I still wasn't performing at the level that they wanted me to perform at. So mentally, it was very challenging, very challenging. But with my coach and just being consistent and them seeing the work being put in practice, confirmed that it's just a matter of I need to learn how to compete in this environment. If I'm not used to somebody running next to me because I win every race by 100 meters, somebody next to me, I'm thinking they shouldn't be here. So I'm running faster and faster and faster when the person is running next to me in a mile race. And I'm doing something beside myself because I'm thinking you shouldn't be this close to me because I haven't registered that this is the SEC.
Right.
So yeah, that's how that went.
Nah, that's crazy, and that's a lot of that's decoding a lot of game to athletes out there. Just saying, it was off a year-to-year basis. Like when, as you athletes that's getting recruited, even you're at the highest. This man was the number 2 track runner, number 1 in the state, number 2 in the state, or whatever. But and still, he still had to prove himself on a year-to-year basis, and it's really like that. So as you guys continue to get your letters and you continue to get all the success or what come with it, the girls, the people, the fake entourages, just know whenever they give you that contract, it's real and it's cutthroat, like Blair said. But I kind of want to jump into, because you're a trainer, and I just want to talk to you about adversity. And I want to talk to you about your Albuquerque experience, whenever you were really down in track, and where you really had to question yourself. Like I said, I do my research, man. You had to, yeah, nah, for real, yeah, you had to call your coach, and that was a really low moment for you, even you calling your mom and stuff, and just because, like you said, you never won, but mentally, you felt like even what I was doing for these coaches wasn't enough. I remember the story you said, when you got tripped or just any adversity that you faced, they're like, nah, get up. But that's the LSU way, the cutthroat way. Nah, you can win a race today and then it's over tomorrow. They don't really celebrate accomplishments long. So I just want you to talk to just adversity as a whole. It don't even have to be for track. You got a clientele with people that's facing adversity within their bodies, and you know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
For me, really, during that time, I had, like you said, I was competing. I was feeling good about myself, being, a new year. And that was my sophomore year, I believe. And indoor track is earlier on in the season. were doing an event that wasn't my event. I did the 400 meters, my actual events were the 800 and a mile. And it was just one race in which I fell. I was finishing the race and somebody had tripped. We fell on the track, scraped my leg up, finished the race, and it was a horrible time logged or whatever. But yeah, man, I kind of got a dose of reality and just how it means a lot. Everything means a lot. Everything is very significant, and it's when you're doing well, everybody loves you. When you ain't doing well, it's a different experience. And so for me, going from the high school coaching environment where I was being praised and uplifted in times of adversity to go to an environment in which the demand is there for you to continue to produce. And if you aren't producing, nobody's really talking to you. I had to learn how to, go through that. And I leaned on my high school coach. I leaned on, the relationships that I was in and my family and that kind of stuff to try to hold me up. But at that time I wanted to transfer. My money had been cut, and it wasn't just because of that one fall, but my money had been cut. I was struggling. I wasn't progressing at the rate that they needed me to progress. I just recognized why the challenge is so much greater in that environment, because it's not a matter of, are you doing your best? It's a matter of, are you competing with the best? And so for me, I had to get out of doing my best and start getting into being more of a competitor with the best. And so that was a shift for me, because it wasn't about my performance. It was about the team's performance. It was about the relay's performance. It was about assuring that everybody was on the same page. And that was something that I had to work with, because even my sophomore year, there was still a lot of things that I hadn't experienced, even in races. I didn't have much race experience, considering I hadn't really raced very competitive individuals in that scheme of things. So if I'm winning every race by 10, 15 seconds, and I go to college and I'm losing every race, I have to learn how to race from behind, from the middle, from all these other parts of the race that I've never been behind anybody. I don't know what to do back here. So it was that, and the crazy as that sounds, everything was so new. So it was a struggle. I consider going to smaller schools. I consider going to a smaller division, because I wasn't making finals at conference. I wasn't scoring. I wasn't doing any of those things. And then, like you said, that next year is when I really kicked it in gear. It was like, you know what, I got a hang of this. It's time to go. So my junior year is really kind of like my breakthrough year. And then my senior year was just kind of icing on the cake for me. And that made it feel a lot. And still, there was still adversity in that year, in my senior year. And that's something I don't know if I've ever really spoken out about the adversity I experienced my senior year after so much success. In my senior year, I was an All-American. I broke two or three school records at LSU. But even still, my coach got fired in that season. Dang. The coach that I went to LSU for was fired before we started. And the coach that became my coach was fired the day after the SEC championship, which meant that I had to then go to the national meet alone without a coach. And that's what happened. And I didn't perform well. It was like I didn't perform well. And not only did I not perform well, it was on a national level. So it was on ESPN. And everybody who is a LSU track fan or former LSU track athlete, they watched me not perform well on a relay. I had to deactivate all my social media. It was that wild. And I'm thinking, this is track. Who watches track? This ain't football. This ain't basketball. So I can only imagine what these high, caliber athletes that are still doing it go through, NFL, NBA, etc. Because for me, I was getting messages left and right. I'm just like, who are you? I broke the LSU record 3 months ago. I didn't get a congrats. But you telling me that I ran too slow for your team, this, and what am I? So it was just I realized, people, even if they don't know you, people are going to take the opportunity to feel like they're a part of something. And if it's trendy to then bring that person down, then they're just going to hop on it because they want to feel a part of something. Not necessarily because they actually feel that way. Because if the message and if the theme around it was more supportive, then everybody would have went that route. But because it was more popular to bash or to bring down, everybody just kind of went that route. So I got off of everything for a while, and I went and ran at the USA Championships about 2 or 3 weeks later after that, and I got an offer to run for the Nike under a Nike training club. So that's when I went semi-pro or pro, whatever you want to call it, for track, and I did that for about 1.5 years before coming out here and getting into my business. So
For sure. And man, that's crazy. That's really crazy. And people don't really understand what athletes go through when it comes to just the social media thing in college. Like when you're a big college athlete and you have those supporters, like people will really try to tear you down, or and then it's more because when you're in college, you have this mindset of I gotta do this because I'm representing my family, I'm representing my town. Like I don't want nobody to leave. So you start to get added pressure, and like for the people that's just in town that don't play or don't know, it's like, yeah, bro, I went to this track meet. You don't know what happened throughout that whole little thing, but I'm at this track meet though, and that's the only thing you're gonna judge me by is what you see on this track. But nobody know you ain't have no coach, but they don't care because they see in this track meet. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's really crazy. But I kind of want to get into because like I obviously knowing you in middle school or whatever, I always knew you was like intelligent, and just like watching, like being a fan just from a distance or whatever. Like we never talk. I'm not nobody that's gonna go on no just act like, oh yeah, bro, we this and that. But I've always been a fan from a distance, and something that I had to learn was like just telling people, like you appreciate them or they inspired you or whatever. So you know what I'm saying? Like that's why whenever you like the video, I was like, hey, let me just go and say it publicly because a lot of people don't like doing this in this culture. Like that's considered lame, or oh, you doing too much, or oh, you just on dude. You know what I'm saying? Like they say all type of stupid things, but to me, it's just like I just rather give respect because I don't even like a lot of people, and I don't like not a lot of people. Me. You know what I'm saying? So for me to get out, it was just like a thing like that. But back to you being a businessman. During college, I was watching some of your posts, and you would be posting whenever you would go to events, but you would take pictures with people. You'd be like, oh, yeah, just got some information for this. So me knowing I always had a business mindset as well, I'm like, dang, I think he building this clientele. Because you're older than me, right? So I see you at LSU. I'm like, oh, I got to go to college. I ain't probably going to LSU with hoop, but I'm going somewhere. But I was like, I always been a person to learn about successful people. And you would like post some quotes that we're gonna get into. You post a lot of quotes, like, and with me being in psychology, I know that some of those quotes are like dear to you, like you live your life by 'em. But the thing that I'm trying to say is like with this business thing, I seen you constantly meeting new people and constantly creating new connections. So I already knew you had a plan whenever track was gone. You know what I'm saying? So just talk about that and the business thing, and also how important networking is for people. A lot of people think that they're too cool to, see somebody that's winning and ask a question to help you get to that point. You know what I'm saying?
right, right. I'll say this about the way I approach business. I didn't long term see myself as an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
All I knew was whatever I was going to do up until that point, I've been able to accomplish. The moment I started running track, every single goal that I had, I accomplished.
Right.
And the only thing I didn't accomplish would be the Olympics. And that was because I didn't actually want to run track up until I was convinced to do so. So it's not like I had Olympic dreams. And not to say if I did, I would have accomplished it, but it wasn't like something that I really was I qualified for the Olympic trials in 2016, but I'm just not I haven't ran in I don't know how long now. You know what I mean? It's not. It was a means to an end. It's what I used in order to get there. As far as the business goes, I initially went to LSU and I was in physical therapy. That was what I was going to graduate in. And then I got injured and I had to go to physical therapy. And I looked around and I'm like, yo, this is what y'all do all day? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, ain't no way. Ain't no way. I'm not doing this. This is boring. So I then shifted my major and was really just trying to figure out what I was going to do. I got certified in personal training when I was 18. And I was just kind of jumping around between like YMCA, little local gyms. I went to like a sports performance facility. But you got to understand, I was at LSU with Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, Jeremy Hill. I was there with all of those guys. You get what I'm saying? So I was watching those guys get trained. So I'm learning the sports side of things. I'm like, okay, cool. I think I like this. This is cool. And then I just really had a change of heart because I started to see how with training athletes, a lot of athletes have either their parents' input or their own input that they feel like they know so much before they're able to be coachable or teachable. And so it's a lot of times it's a barrier between them being able to learn and progress because they have to suppress their own egos and what they think they should be doing, or I've been doing it like this. And so through going to school, I ended up graduating with my kinesiology degree. And then like I said, I went pro. That required me to move to DC. When I moved to DC, I still had a job because pro track, I mean, you make about, I mean, everybody has different, means, but I think it was probably we're getting rent and food essentially paid for if you calculate the cost. And so it was about like $38,000, and DC was expensive. And so I still personal trained when I was in DC. I built up some clients there. I would go to network and stuff like that. And it's really, for me, I just found that if somebody else, the same way I told you in the beginning, if you tell me to do A, B, and C, if somebody else has already done what it takes to be successful, I find no value in trying to reinvent it at all. I find it as a complete waste of time, actually, because I don't have a problem following directions. The issue is most people, if I tell you, hey, you want to be a millionaire, read this book. I read this book and I became a millionaire. Most people are going to say, oh, that's crazy. Never buy the book.
Never buy the book.
Another portion of people are going to say, that's crazy. Buy the book, never read the book. Right. Another portion of people are going to buy the book, read the book, and don't apply anything. And when I realized it's such a small percentage who actually buy the book on the spot and read the book and then go back and ask questions about the book, and I was that small percentage, then I was like, I can't be, I have too much of an advantage because I'm willing to do what most people aren't willing to do in those situations. Yeah. And so for me, that's what allowed me to kind of see, okay, business-wise, I'm a sponge. So if you telling me something, I may not like how you're doing it. I may not like you personally, but I can learn from you. Right. I can learn from anybody who I'm around, and they don't even have to know I'm learning from them. I'm observing everything. So through working in all of these gyms, through working in these gym environments, I learned what not to do more than I learned what to do. And all I did was fill in the blanks. Mm-hmm. So I learned how trainers talk to their clients, and it makes them feel uncomfortable. I learned how trainers have these long contracts and they get them locked into these things and it's not transparent and they don't understand what's going on, and that makes them uncomfortable. I learned all of these things of what not to do, and I just went the route that was paved at that point in time because I removed all of those distractions. And so networking to me it doesn't even have to be something that is actually physically taking place. It's more so about what are you extracting from this situation that you'll actually go and apply rather than just being in that environment. Because being in an environment is one thing, but knowledge isn't power. The application of knowledge is power. You knowing what to do is one thing. Until you actually do it, you're not getting any better. You're not improving in any way. And so for me, I would just take from everybody, literally, even people you would not even imagine.
Me too.
Tekashi 6ix9ine. I learned from him.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, I learned from him. Kanye West, I learned from him. You want to know what I learned from these people is if you say something with enough confidence, it don't matter. People going to follow what you're saying. So if I'm going to say stuff confidently and I'm going to have influence, I'm going to make sure that the stuff that I'm saying is going to be fact-based and actually beneficial to those people. I'm going to have this influence is going to turn into money. And so business-wise, I learned how to present myself in front of the audience in which I'm targeting, and then empower them to do the things that I want them to do. Because most people think influence is having a lot of followers. That's not influence. You can have influence. You can have influence with 100 followers. Influence is telling your followers to go buy your book and it becoming a bestseller. That's influence. Influence isn't followers, because those followers. You know what I said when I got like 50,000. When I got like,
you see what happened with Sweetie? It is no shot at her, but did you see the album she and her following on Instagram? Well, they had kind of talked about it. Him 500, who I follow, great entrepreneur, you know who that is, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he was breaking it down. But so Sweetie has probably like over 9 million. Not really sure her Instagram following, but anyways, it's over millions of followers. And she produced some music, and it only sold like 5 to 10K. And everybody was like, "Well, what's going on?" And this just goes to the point that you were saying, but I just wanted to bring that up. Like, yeah, that's a real but
it's if people get caught up in the wrong things, and I think that becomes a distraction. I don't get distracted by the small stuff because I'm expecting the small stuff to happen. Right. You get what I'm saying? If you're expecting to win, being in the lead shouldn't surprise you, right? So when it comes down to the things that I'm doing, I don't always have everything figured out before I do it. For instance, my book, right? I wrote that book in 4 weeks. I decided to write the book the day gyms closed because of COVID. It took me 4 weeks, start to finish, to write the book, have it printed, and have a hard copy in hand. Okay? I took the photos of the front and the back with my phone on a tripod outside. I wrote everything that was in the book in Google and Microsoft Word. I had no plan. Once I told people I was writing a book, it was for my own purpose. I ordered 30 copies. I said I had 30 copies. If I sell 30, I get my money back. I'm good. Well, I sold over 100 in pre-orders. And I didn't even, but that was because of the value that I brought those people beforehand. And so what I learned about business is, and this is one of the keys to success. If anybody's in business and they're listening to this, write this down. You do not need to sell people if they see your value on the front end of things, which means if I give you everything for free, people say, why are you always posting free workouts on your Instagram? Because the moment you message me, you know you got to pay. You get what I'm saying? Right. If I give you everything for free and you message me, you know you paying. Because at the end of the day, if I can show you that my true value is in you getting this information, if my true value is in you reaching your goals, you're going to trust me more, which means you know that my goal is your goal, which means that you're more inclined to want to give me your money. So I didn't do any promo really for the book besides allowing my followers to pick the cover, allowing them to vote on when it comes, how long should the book be? All of these things they were able to give me input on. And that's what allowed that to grow into what it was. The same thing for my business. If I'm going to go and put this information, what I'm doing is I'm showing you the value without selling you. Because the last thing somebody wants to feel in the business is like they're being sold to, because now all you care about is the money. But the moment I show you I care about something greater than the money is the moment you want to throw the money to me. Right? So value first. I'm going to give you the value, and through that, because it's free and I'm giving you so much, people are waiting to spend money. So the moment I say, I'm offering online this for this much, I'm offering this, I got this discount, it's just going to go up because I'm doing so much for free that they want to give me the money. They want to pay me. So if you're in business, if you want to do well in your business, show your value before you show your prices. You show your prices first. You got to convince them of your value. I show you my value. You want to see my prices. So that's something that I picked up on from learning from the people that I was around, and I'm very, very, very adamant about that. I think that is the key to my entire business. I literally got a message this morning from a pastor in Baton Rouge who thanked me for my posts and stuff, but told me I was a part of his sermon last week. Like what? Like I post workout videos. I have no idea what I was in his sermon for, but I got a bunch of church people who just started, church pastors who just follow me and stuff. But my point is, when it comes down to business and it comes down to the business aspect of how you approach things, have confidence in what you're doing and provide the value on the front end of things, and worry about the money. We cross that. You get the money once you've already established that value, right? Nobody has to convince you of it.
Sure. That's hella game. That's game right there, for real. And that's crazy. Like I always tell people, just because I do mental health, obviously, I do a lot of videos and stuff, and I be trying to tell people too that it's not about because people remember when I started for like 1,000-something followers. Now I'm at like 25, but I keep trying to tell people that even when my clips go crazy, I'm like, some of those clips that's going crazy are just numbers. I done did a clip that did trash numbers, but I impacted 5 to 10 people. That's my goal. You know what I'm saying? Like that 5 to 10 means more to me than this 20,000 posts that people view because I directly help them. Like, you know what I'm saying? So people don't really understand that. Even if like a pastor or something call, or like I just had one of my best friends, shout out to my guy T Head, but he called me and literally told me that I was the reason why he's doing better and he decided to make a change within his life. Him seeing me post every day. We went on a vacation on a cruise and it was crazy. He was like, bro, your work ethic is ridiculous. Like, you need me to help shoot videos? I'm like, oh, you asking? I'm like, oh, we can go right now. We shot videos every day on the cruise. Like, I was literally on vacation 3-4 hours. Like at 2 to 6 in the morning, he'll tell you we outside shooting clips. It's the work ethic mind of like, I just need to keep building because I'm gonna get these bigger guests and I'm gonna be able to talk to these brands and stuff. But it starts right now. You know what I'm saying? But him, those times changed his life for him to do better. 2 months after that, now, you know, gratefully, you know, he's got a job and he's doing way better than what he did before we even reconnected because I've been gone. I live on this side of the world. I love you, but I'm on this side. You're on that side. You know what I'm saying? So people don't really understand the value of that, of understanding that it's not about followers. It's not about having millions of, like, it's the people that you impact. If you're truly doing it for the people. Now, if you're doing it for money, then, I mean, I can't really know advice to that. But I want to kind of get into this with you. You said something that really caught me, and I was like, bro, I got to interview this dude. Like, I know for sure, like, you were talking about Nipsey Hussle, and you said you fell in love with Nipsey music. Nipsey is the reason why I'm even doing a podcast. He's the reason why I became an entrepreneur. He's the reason that I haven't, gratefully, I can say, haven't worked in the system for like 2 years, two full years. I've been a full entrepreneur. So, like, Nipsey inspired me in ways that I really, man, I literally, I pray, I thank him all the time, like, for any accomplishment that I get because he truly changed my life. And it was the music is a detail to that because I try to tell people too, like that album Victory Lap is a whole bunch of game. $1 Million While He's Young. If you look at the lyrics, he's telling you this is what you got to do to be $1 million. Put your focus on this. You know what I'm saying? I can go through every track because I know it backhand, but I understand when you said that. I think you said that in an interview with some of your friends at Lake Charles. Shout out to those guys. I know them, not personally, but I do know them. But you were like, man, nah, I fell in love with Nipsey music, and he gave me the blueprint to cut the middleman out and go directly to the source. So talk about that. Yeah.
So yeah, man, really the middleman, that's a big thing for me, right? So when I was living in, this is what got me to do the entrepreneur route. When I was living in DC, I was working as a personal trainer while I was still running. About the time I decided that I was probably going to hang up the spikes, within the next couple of months, I really had to make a decision on what I was going to do next. Mind you, I was going to grad school while I was still running track professionally. So I got my master's degree online while living in DC. So I was still personal training in DC, but I started to learn ways in which I can bring in more money, but I was doing it for the gyms that I worked for and not for myself. So for instance, I would go out, and when you work as a personal trainer, they tell you to get clients, go on the floor and talk to people who are working out and ask them if they want to have training, if they want to do training sessions. Or for the new members who join the gym, go and talk to them and schedule them for like an onboarding session. The conversion rate on this is horrible because people are joining the gym because they want to join the gym. They're not joining because they want personal training. And people who are working out are actually in the process of working out. They don't want to be sold personal training. So what I found was, why are we trying to sell to people who don't want to be sold to when there are people who are actively looking for personal trainers? So I'm like, I'm going to start advertising outside of the gym because the people here are already here. If they wanted trainers, they would sign up for a trainer. So I started going to local track meets and stuff and football games and talking to players and talking to parents. And I started to sign up entire football teams for memberships at gyms, entire track teams for memberships at gyms, which is a lot of money. I was signing them up only to train them for the same rate I've been training, which meant the middleman, the gym, was getting all of the money that from the sign-up fees, and I didn't get a raise from that. And so through that, I said, okay, well, that doesn't really make sense. I personally gave my boss a $20,000 raise, personally, from the efforts of signing all those memberships up. So once I realized that, I said, okay, I think I can do this on my own. And believe it or not, the supervisor at the job that I had told me I was crazy. She was like, why would you think you can do this? What makes you think you can do this on your own? What makes you think you know how to do this? And she was drinking. It was like a Christmas party. But still, I'm just observing me. I'm like, oh, okay.
Right. Marking
okay.
News. I like it.
Okay. So I moved to, before I moved to Houston, I had the plan already in place. I drove out here and I already had like my social media tagged location as if I was in Houston. I was already advertising like I was in Houston. Everything was already like I was there before I got there. So in the first week of being out here, I had a client because I was already working on that. And so what I did was I found a gym in which you can pay rent. So I pay a flat rate. I run my whole business through it. I do whatever I want, get access to the gym, train my clients. I removed the middleman. I removed the gym from being the barrier. And I went to a location in which I can now increase my prices to reflect what the gym was actually getting and I wasn't getting because they were taking a 60% cut, and I increased my income that way. And so same thing with the book. People say, why'd you did everything yourself? I made my website myself. I wrote my book myself. I built everything is done myself because some kid on YouTube is going to teach you how to do it. I'm not into paying somebody for something a skill that I can acquire. Especially if it's something that I can monetize on later. If I was still needing somebody to edit my videos, I would be paying somebody a lot of money, or would have already paid somebody a lot of money. Well, I'm not going to go into my money for things that you may have automatically done on a system, may have paid somebody else to do, and now you're upcharging me. It could be a whole lot of things that go on. And then if I want things done a specific way, I'd rather do those things and own up to the mistake myself than go back and forth with somebody else. So for me, having that understanding from top down about what you're doing and how that goes into play and what that looks like is really important. And I think a lot of people are lazy entrepreneurs, to be honest. They become entrepreneurs because they want to be the boss. And that's not a good reason to become an entrepreneur. You should become an entrepreneur because you work so hard and your work isn't valued, not because you want to be the one telling people what to do, which is why people do it.
You're right. Hold on. I gotta say this point before I forget. A lot of people that's entrepreneurs too don't understand the listening part. Yes, you're the boss, but you have to have a mind. A boss listens too. A boss will listen before you speak. Like, you'll listen to everything that's going on before you speak. Like, a lot of people don't even have that skill, but they just want to be so in charge. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I had to.
It gives them that sense of empowerment in a world in which they may not feel like they have much say so, right? And so what the issue is, and this goes for everything, right? Where did you learn how to be an entrepreneur? Where did you learn how to be an entrepreneur? For the people who decide they want to be an entrepreneur, what information do you have that gives you the confidence to do so successfully? Because we live in a time in which is idolized and is clapped when people become entrepreneurs. But most entrepreneurs are broke.
Right.
You'll make more money if you just went and got a job. I know it sounds good and it looks good, but the reality of it is you got 80,000, you got 100,000 followers, and you got $2,000 in the bank. It's like, and so my thing is being, like you said, being able to listen, being able to ask questions. Most people have too much pride to do that, and that's why their businesses fail. I'm in the same gym with people who could easily be benefiting from the information that I give out regularly for free. It's just too prideful. It's too prideful. So you can't be that type of person because everybody wants to pretend like their business is already successful from day one.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody wants to pretend like they already got it together because of this lifestyle marketing trend of trying to look like you got the nice car, trying to look like you got these clothes, trying to look like you're doing all this. And I'm looking at these people in their everyday life like, yo, I drive a Honda Accord and a Honda Civic, and I live in an apartment that costs less than $1,000 a month. And I make triple what you're making. And it's not to say something about my finances, but it's saying you don't have to do that. Like that's not a real thing.
That's serious. Oh man, yeah. That's sparking something in me because it's a lot of people see even what I'm doing. They look at the process of what I'm doing, and it's like you go look at my episode 1, and then you go look at now to me shooting in the studio, to me doing all.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, y'all don't even understand that a lot of that I'm broke. Like I didn't. That's truly being an entrepreneur, learning, managing. Knowing that I don't need all this extra stuff. I don't need everything. Like having to really sacrifice to make your dream go great, but also have to listen to information because I don't got it at the end of the day. Like, you know, it might look like a facade that somebody do, but it's like until you truly understand the life lessons of okay, listening, okay, learning. But even that, as we know, applying what you learned. Like the book analogy that you gave with somebody getting the book, reading the book, and then all the information to be successful in life is in books. My friends ask me all the time, how do you do this? How do you? I read books. Literally, I read books. The same books I read, I send to them. They don't read them. So, you know what I'm saying? Like you're asking me these things, and it's like, yeah, well, I gave you that answer years ago. You just don't remember. I told you to read this book. I read it.
And that's the crazy thing to me is, and this is for the people who don't read, quote unquote, right? I'm an author. I probably read less than 10 books in my whole life. And it's really crazy to say that because I still consume the information. I still am able to ask questions. I'm still able to do those things. And I'm not telling people that it's easy to get mentally down. It's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to get depressed. It's easy to get broken if you're assuming that things are supposed to go a specific way. That assumption is based off of a collective illusion. And that illusion is that all entrepreneurs are happy and successful. That illusion, just because you're struggling, you're progressing. Struggle does not necessarily mean progress. You could be struggling because you're doing the wrong thing. Right. So understanding that it's okay to ask questions, it's okay to ask for help, but actually doing it. Not just saying it's okay, but it's like mental health, right? I say this all the time. My generation is the generation of acknowledging mental health without getting therapy. Hopefully the next one does something about it. My generation acknowledges mental health issues, but don't do anything about it. It's like when people tell you about their childhood trauma, they're not telling you what they've worked through. They're telling you what they expect you to deal with.
Yeah, for sure.
because they haven't went and gotten help for it. They don't go to therapy. They don't go to counseling. It's like when men say when we as black men we say, well, we're not allowed to express ourselves. Who said that?
Yeah, no, literally.
No, but just think about it, right? Just think about it. And this is I know it's a side note, but just think about it. When we as men say that we're not allowed to express ourselves and communicate our emotions, what we're really saying is we don't know how.
Yeah, of course.
It's not that you don't, because women ask for communications in relationships. Men complain that they aren't allowed to communicate. So who's telling men that they can't communicate their emotions? Yeah. Nobody.
For sure.
It's a collective illusion. We all just accept that as what we think is our reality. But the real issue is you don't learn how to express yourself, because when you was a little boy and you fell, you started crying. Your mama told you stop crying. Boys don't cry, instead of allowing you to express yourself. Right. So now you've learned that not expressing yourself is what you should do. Normalized. And so it's normalized. So as an adult, you're saying you can't or you're not allowed to, but nobody's telling you that as an adult. You just don't have the skills to now. So you got to go get those skills. You got to go ask questions. You got to have those conversations, those tough things that isn't what's going to be highlighted. And I like to put all that out there. I like to say all the stuff that people, I like to go into the conversations that people don't want to go into, the stuff that makes people uncomfortable, because I know you're going to relate to it, even if you're not going to say it out loud, because I know you're going through it the same way I'm going through it. You just may not have the confidence to say it in the way that I say it, or the ability to articulate it in the way that I articulate it. But I know for a fact your experience is not that different than mine. You just may not have learned how to navigate it.
No, for
you know what I'm saying?
I definitely feel that. And that's why I love your content too, because the way that you talk to people is like, I know he touched everybody because everybody feel like that. You know what I'm saying? Like whenever it comes to your content. And that's why I respect it too, because like when I respect your content as well, because you're talking to the realness of people and you're not talking as just a trainer. I see a lot of trainers, there's no disrespect to them, but they're talking from a sense of, well, if you do this and you do that, you're literally talking to the real, hey, you working out and then you go and eat this bad meal, that ain't about to help you. I don't know what you think this workout did. This ain't, you know what I'm saying? But when you articulate like that, you're touching them, because all those people that's trying to go cheat and thinking, well, I worked out, so it ain't going to impact me that much. No, yes, it is. You know what I'm saying? So,
I think what we do is we try to present ourselves as one way with always having our internal feelings about it. I like to just go straight to those internal feelings. Like I don't want to hear what you want me to take from this. I want to hear what you actually feel and actually think in that situation, right? So when you say you want to lose weight, but you say you don't have motivation to lose weight, then how does that mean you want to lose weight? If I want, you see what I'm saying? If you want to date this girl and this girl says she don't want you to curse, and you say, well, I can't stop cursing, well, then you're choosing not to do what it takes to get that girl. So you don't really want that girl, or whatever the case may be. Just being able to sacrifice whatever it is you are so attached to for the thing that you so say want to accomplish in life, or you want to feel, or you want to do.
For sure. And we winding down on time. But I kind of want to touch on these last three things, and then we can go. But no, it's been a great episode. Oh man, it's so much good in this episode. I'm having a great time. But yeah, so you have this quote I seen on your page, and you constantly say it. You're motivated by the fear of not being average. Mm-hmm. Now, in today's society, I say this all the time to people that ask me, like, Trey, what drives you? What makes you want to get up and, you know, be on vacation and shoot videos? It's like, I don't want to be average. Like, everything that I do, I don't like seeing somebody that's lazy saying that they could, you know, do the same thing as me. To me, that might be cool for other people because they might admire them. But I'm like, hey, your work ethic is not nowhere near mine. I want to go here. And you know what I'm saying? For me, for some people, they have this mindset, especially in the town that we're at. It's like, oh, no, you're all right. It's okay to go get a job at the plant and then live here for 30 years and just retire and then have a family and something. Or it's okay to just be around family and not go chase your dreams or just get a job. And for you to have that mindset of, no, I don't want to be average, like every day, but in interpreting that into your lifestyle, like, okay, yeah. And it's not about the money that you make. It's about the decisions. Like, okay, hey, I need to lock in. Let me eat. Or you having an insecurity with your body. Okay, let me build my body how I want it to be. Having that mindset. I don't want just an average body mindset. Like, oh, I don't want to be a former track runner and I'm still in shape. No, I want the body that I want. I don't want just an average body. I'm going to work out for what I want. If I want my arms big, I'm going to get my arms big. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I kind of want you to speak on that, just that mindset that you got.
Yeah, I think it's a couple things when it comes to that. The first thing is people tend to act as if they've lost the ability to choose in life. And what I mean by that is people act as if, and it may be the case for them. If you imagine life as a slope, as a mountain with snow on it, right? And you go down the mountain with your skis or whatever, and it leaves a little bit of indention in the snow. Over time, you keep going down that same indention. It gets deeper and deeper to the point where you just kind of slide straight down that mountain, right?
Right.
Well, it's hard to take a different route once you've created this slope that you just continuously, comfortably slid down over and over again. Mm-hmm. For me, I want to always be able to choose where I'm sliding, which means I'm not going to allow, limitations to control what my outcome is. And so what the limitation typically is for people who I would consider average is they haven't been exposed to enough things. You haven't been exposed to enough information. You haven't been exposed to enough cultures. You haven't been exposed to enough environments in which those things require you to grow. The people who stay in those environments don't grow. Unfortunately, if I go back to Lake Charles right now and I go talk to somebody, the only memories and the only real hypes and highlights they'll be able to tell me is what happened in high school.
Right, yeah.
Because nothing has happened. Nothing else has happened. And so for me, it's more so about understanding that I become a better person the more I get out, the more I experience other cultures, the more I understand. Because if somebody in Lake Charles, and it's not anything about Lake Charles, but somebody from a small city, you think everything you do is right. In reality, that's all you know. Right. And so the information changes situations. Because if you've been told, I'll put it this way, right? If you've been told, if you live in Lake Charles and everybody in Lake Charles or everybody in your circle has been told that, water is a toxic thing. You shouldn't drink water. Right. But everybody else in the world drinking water and water is healthy. Let's use it as an analogy. Let's say you make it to this certain age and you haven't been drinking water and everybody else is telling you, yo, we all drink water. Water is good for you. But in Lake Charles, they told you that if you don't get out, then now you think, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, nah, for real. Though.
Because you're limited to the information that's in that think bubble.
Cannabis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I can go on for days about this.
Yeah. I already know. But
yeah,
cannabis is the prime example of what you're saying that come from our town. A lot of people, that's dope. They don't even understand that they can help your body. They can help your mind. Like that can help your anxiety. They can help. And outside of where it's not legalized, it's not legalized there, but like I'm in Oregon, so it's legalized, but they use it for different things. There's cannabis out there that help you for your body, help you for your pain, aches, and stuff.
Right.
Of that nature. But in our town, it's considered poison because they don't want to legalize it because then they will have to open up a Pandora's box of the people that's getting locked up and stuff. And also, we're black men. So as we know, the black men that's getting locked up for using cannabis and those things, like, they would have to open that up to but we understand it because we done left and we done traveled and we understand it's bigger than just what our town says it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that could be that. It's not even limited to a town. It could be something as simple as your family. If you live in a think bubble and everyone just reiterates what you originally thought, you can grow up to thinking the way you think is the quote unquote right way, when in reality that's just how they think in that specific area, that specific culture, that environment. And if you got out, you'd be able to actually critically think as opposed to just sliding down that same slope that's been established in the city, because that's what most people do. They grow up to slide down the slope that's already been established because they don't venture out and learn more and experience other things.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And that second thing that I want to talk about is surrounding yourself with people that change your mindset. I've seen that you have been around a lot of people, or you train clients that one story you on your friend's podcast, and you're talking about somebody that bought actually a cannabis thing that's in Cali. That that one on Melrose, just to be specific, but just being around him and the way that he think, you're like, bruh, it changed my whole mindset to things. But a lot of people don't really understand how truthful it is that you have to surround yourself with people that that either push you or that's inspiring, or just people that wanna like that's doing good in life.
Yeah.
Or whatever that says. Like, my words are kind of getting misconstrued, but just surrounding yourself with people that's something that you want to do. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I need to change my circle. Just I've been hanging around more business-like people, more people that's financially stable, more people that's really diving into financial literacy, and they're taking every leap and bound, but they're also telling me, hey, you're not there yet. You need to do this, and I'm doing it, and I'm reaping the benefits of that. You know what I'm saying? And I had to change my friend group, which is people that I love. Still to this day, we're still cool. We're still homies. But, hey, I'm not really with y'all like that. I'm trying to do this. I want to be financially stable. I want to be, be able to further my business, to be able to further myself. But also, it's not about money, but I want to be okay. Like, I want to eventually get married. I want to eventually have a kid. I don't want them to grow up in the same pressures as me. But people don't realize those small changes make a lot. Like, I've just been hanging around my other group of friends who are business people, who have their own business, who are winning in every area that I, call as winning. And I mean by being happy, having the right people around them, and also being able to create wealth for themselves. So having to leave people that I was used to being around, as far as they not really financially there, or they not really just on the same thing that I'm on. They're on their own life things and their own life purposes, which don't align with me. You know what I'm saying? Even though I love these people, I had to make a change, even with family.
Yeah.
Dysfunctional people calling me because I'm a therapist and you just want me to talk, you want me to listen to your problems, but you don't want to listen to the advice that I'm giving. Having those type of people off. And this year, and it's only January, I've already engrossed with content, literally the most reached content I've ever had, made the most money in a month that I ever had, and we only on January, what is it? January 18th. You know what I'm saying? But those changes for me to the new year, I was like, listen, in order to take my business and myself to the next level, I literally have to make changes. And it comes with the people around me, because I'm in situations to where it's not furthering what I want to do in my business. It's not furthering what I want to do with my personal time. So with me learning that, I'm like, wow, I never really understood that statement until I started hanging around millionaires, until I start being in these environments and seeing how these people think and how they act. And just like you said, how they spend their money. They not going by no Cuban. Nah, we about to say this is for a rental property. Don't know when I'm going to get it, but this stashed up. This is what you do. Hey, what do you do monthly? Hey, you need to meal prep. Why meal prep? I meal prep all the time. This is how much money I save. And I eat healthy. This saves you time, too. You don't have to drive to, line through and wait. And you know what I'm saying? So all these things have literally have helped me elevate, but it came from changing the circle that I was around. But please talk about that.
Yeah, I think that, and I talk about that a little bit even in my book, Weight Loss Made Easy. It was about, iron sharpens iron. And the example or analogy I gave in there is we can make it as plain as possible. If somebody identifies as a Christian and somebody identifies as a Muslim, they can be friends.
Right.
But there are certain things that one is going to do that the other isn't, and the other is going to do that one isn't. And you have to understand that if you want to get somewhere as a Christian, you're not going to Muslim church, and as a Muslim, you're not going to Christian church. And so just surrounding yourself around people who have the same end goal as you, or even not even the same end goal, but the desire for you to obtain that end goal is important, because a lot of times what people don't understand is, and I think people do understand. I think people do recognize that when you try to lose weight, people are going to make fun of you and say, they eating a salad. When you try to lose weight, people are going to say, oh, what you trying to lose weight for? What you saying that you too good to eat my food? It's never about you and your goals. They make it about themselves. And that can bring you down, because now you're feeling responsible for how they feel, and you only doing what's best for you. And so finding out, people who actually, and this is what I do for my followers. I know that they're probably in environments that aren't going to be the most encouraging for their goals. So I created my own environment. I created the online community through Facebook, and I'm going to post, and I made it private so I can post my own encouraging things here. You can post your flaws, you can post whatever, nobody judging you. We're going to create the environment that uplifts you and brings you to where you want to be virtually if you don't have it physically. Because it's really important that you have that, because you're going to need somebody to vent to. You're going to need somebody to lean on. You're going to need somebody for motivation. You're going to need somebody for encouragement on those times. And that's going to come from the people you surround yourself with. And if the people you're surrounding yourself with aren't driven individuals, or people who at least are willing to help you get to where you need to get, you need to be around individuals who are. And so for me, I've always felt I didn't create any of the information that I use to get to here in life. At all. I didn't. Even in my book, all I did was take the information that I soaked up. Like I said, I'm a sponge, and applied what I like and dislike and threw my own personality in it. And when it comes to pursuing goals or reaching things in life, you need to be able to make the changes and make the choices yourself. You don't need to depend on somebody else's input. But you can definitely benefit from being around other people who are going to uplift you to get to where you're trying to get. And for me, I had that in my coach when I was in high school as far as sports. When I got into the business side of things, I've always had directors and supervisors or superiors in which I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? What do you do? You know what I'm saying? Forget all this, what we doing out here. What's the steps to get up here? Because this is not, like you said, this is average. I don't want to be a personal trainer. The average personal trainer makes about $45,000 a year. And it's not about money, but my first year self-employed, I made 96. So understanding that it's the same squat that this person doing for $10 a session and this person doing for $150 a session. It's the same squat. So what's going on here? Why is this person paying this much and why this person paying this much? I'm going to get around the people who charging this much, and I'm going to figure out what they're doing. I'm going to get around the people who charging the smalls. I'm going to figure out what they're doing. I'm going to find somewhere in the middle so I can work with both groups, the more wealthy and the people who don't have. And then I become the bridge between the two. And so it's all about being it's really just suppressing your pride and ego. If you're able to suppress your pride and ego, you can do anything. Because most people are too prideful to ask for help. Most people are too prideful to admit when they're wrong. And most people are too prideful to show their flaws. If you can ask for help, admit when you're wrong, and show your flaws, people are going to trust you because they can relate to you. And if people can relate to you, then now you one step closer to that influence. You one step closer to them trusting you. You build that rapport. You build that credibility in life. Because the same way I am on Instagram, the same way I am every day. I don't have to hide from people who I see on Instagram because of how I am in real life. Right. I don't have to stress over what car I'm gonna rent next week so I want to take a picture next to. I don't have to pretend like I'm living this. I'm going to be authentically me. And everybody says it. Everybody says be you. It's the best way, but they just say it. Like I said, application is the thing. People just say that while they continue to try to mimic what somebody else is doing. Or they continue to try to live a lifestyle that they can't really keep up with to try to sell this or do this or whatever the case may be. I'm all about, just chill. We just chilling. We're going to figure this out. You can ask for help. You know what I'm saying? And be honest about who you are. Like, it's no wrong way to do this. And you don't have all the answers because all you know is what you learned through your own personal life experiences. What makes you think that you learned the best way to do everything the first way you learned it? You see what I'm saying? If get it like this, right? You want to play basketball, right? You got to get a basketball coach, right? And then let's look at marriages. You say you want to get married, right?
Oh yeah.
You want to get married, right? So if you want to get married, what makes you think you learned the best way to be a husband the first time you learned it? So I'm not saying for you specifically, but if I grew up and my parents was divorced, I don't know how to be a husband. I got to go learn that. Why do most people go into their marriages thinking they know everything? Most people go into relationships thinking they know everything. Most people go into everything thinking they know it. What is that? Pride and ego. If you suppress that, you can recognize that you don't know everything. You can learn more, and you can be a better person because you're not going in here telling people this is how it should be. Because when people say this is how it should be, they're telling you this is how I learned it to be. And if it doesn't do this, I learned it the right way. You learned it the wrong way. Well, that's crazy. If you live in Lake Charles, Louisiana, you might learn relationships one way. You live in Houston, Texas, you might learn relationships a whole nother way. It don't mean they're right or wrong verbatim, but there are things that you can take from each one of those and figure out how to be a better you. And that's why I say you got to be a sponge. You got to be able to absorb information without holding so dear to the first thing you heard or the first way you learned to do something, right? And that's what a lot of people struggle with, is letting go of that emotional connection to what they thought was how you do something. It's like if I tell somebody, hey, detoxes don't work. A weight loss detox don't work. It's just a laxative. It's going to make you go to the bathroom. You go to the bathroom, you're going to poop. Your scale will go down. You didn't lose any fat. You just pooped off your food. Once you eat again, you're going to gain it right back. For somebody who really, really, really doesn't want to work out, they're not going to accept that.
Right.
See what I'm saying? It doesn't matter that I've given you the exact, I told you what it does, what it's marketed as, how it convinces you that it works, and why it's not going to work. And some people still not going to accept that. Why? Because they're too emotionally attached. They want it to be true so badly. They want to not have to do the other so badly that they're just going to keep going with that blindly. If you can be somebody who is not like that, if you can be somebody who is open to absorbing information, having those conversations, learning from people, you'll continue to evolve and continue to grow, and you will continue to prosper because you're always learning. If you don't learn, it's like, if you don't continue learning, in the 1960s, they advertised smoking cigarettes as a healthy alternative, or a healthy way of coping with stress. If you ain't learned nothing since 1960, then you still telling people smoking cigarettes. You see how things evolve? How you get left in your what you thought was right, you got left. But that's something that it's all been pushed, and we all know collectively smoking cigarettes isn't going to be the best thing for your health. But then the other side of that coin is this thing called optimism bias, which is what we do when we think that we're the exclusivity to what the issue is, which means for the people who continue to smoke cigarettes despite knowing the risk, they think they're the people who aren't going to get lung cancer. The people who still text message while they drive, even though they know the risk, thinks they're the better texter than the ones who got in the wreck. When in reality, every one of them who got in the wreck was that person. Yeah. Everyone who got cancer was that person who thought they were the exception. I don't need to work out. I haven't gotten cancer yet. I don't need to eat healthy. I haven't gotten when the yet comes, you can't go back. Like when it happens, you can't revert. So don't think of yourself as this. You're not special. Nobody's special in the sense that they're excluded from needing to continue to learn and grow. And if you think you are, you're probably stuck in whatever area that you learned the first time. And you can't progress like that. So
that's fact. So last thing that I'm gonna get to Decoding the Real, and we out. You said something like living your life, not really thinking about stuff. So you do it, but you never doubt yourself. But you mentally, yeah. Mentally, I love that. And it's so crazy. I was telling my homeboy, I was like, bro, he said this, bro. This is cold. And my homeboy was like, yeah, what you mean by that? I'm like, nah, you got to understand. He literally saying, like, he doesn't doubt a decision, but he's mentally ready to take either the win or the loss. See, a lot of people, when it comes to working out, when it comes to being an entrepreneur, when it comes to starting your own stuff, you got to be willing. Like, it's a side of this that you might fail. If you don't take the proper precautions and you don't take it seriously, you will fail. But a lot of people are not willing to deal with that. So, I'm gonna just chill over here, bro. I'm gonna just eat like a lot of people don't want to have a goal because they're like, oh, I have to set a standard to that. And Kobe Bryant said something that it changed my life. He said, when I make a decision with myself and I sign that contract, it's already signed. I'm doing it regardless until I achieve this. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people will say something and try to sign, but they not even willing to, they're like, dang, like I might fail. And they don't have that confidence. But that's doubt that comes into that. What you're saying, like, you know what I'm saying? If you saying, bro, I just made a decision, but I don't doubt any decision I make because he's going to learn a lesson from whatever decision you make.
And
Most definitely
understand that in a mental standpoint. Like, if you make a decision whether you win or lose, you're gonna learn a lesson. That lesson is gonna put you forward. I failed a lot in podcasts when I first started. A lot of people don't know that because I keep going. And if I wouldn't have been like, oh yeah, well I might fail at this, but this is what I'm gonna do. I've had guests, I've had like episodes I was supposed to happen that didn't happen. That's not the problem. The problem would be if I didn't try. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I can fail, but as long as I'm going, I'm learning. So I really want you to just talk about that, because a lot of people, they don't really understand how important it is to tell yourself, hey, I might lose at this, but it'd be cool because I'm going to learn something from this and overcome.
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing is when it comes to doubt, and this is where I got rid of doubt. Where does doubt come from? If you haven't done it, why would you doubt yourself? You would doubt yourself based off of somebody else's experience. Well, I'm not them.
Right.
So you're literally determining your outcome based off of somebody else's. I'm never doing that. Because if you haven't done it, there should be no, if you watched the interview you talked about when you said I was a junior in high school, and they said, hey, Blair, you just broke the record of a guy who went on to run 147 in college at LSU. And I said, without a doubt, if he was doing it, if he can do it, I can do it. The issue is when people say stuff like that, they think it's going to happen on their time.
Right.
I didn't run 147 until 2016. I said that in 2012. That's 4 years. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. That's 4 years. And so I kept working all 4 years. I went through all of that adversity that we just talked about all those 4 years before I ran that time. So just because it doesn't happen on the time that you expected, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen, right? And I think a lot of times people's expectations for the time for things to happen is what the flaw is. That's why when I talk about weight loss, I tell people you can't have a weight loss goal until you understand the pace weight loss occurs. How can you set a goal if you don't know how fast it's supposed to happen? Now you set an unrealistic, unattainable goal, right? Because you thought you were going to lose it at this time. You say you failed. No, you ain't failed. That's impossible. Like, you're not going to lose that much that fast. You didn't fail. You're on track to do it. You just thought it was going to happen sooner than it's going to happen. And that's what I think is the biggest issue, is because people oftentimes, if you have the information, that's why I say information changes situations, because if you know what the outcome is going to be, and you know of doing A, B, and C leads to the outcome, it didn't say A, B, and C leads to D in 2 years or 2 months. Nobody told you that part. That's the thing. That's why people have doubts, because they aren't willing to work until they're willing to work until they think it's been enough. What makes you feel like you're the person who determines how much work needs to take place before the end goal is made or met? That's what the issue is. And a lot of people, they question things because it doesn't happen on their time, when in reality, the time is the test. And the test is what gives people the doubt, because the moment they're in that test to see if they really want it, they stop. And so for me, I don't doubt anything that I do. One, because of what you said in regards to, I'm going to learn a lesson from it, but also I don't see myself as ever failing, ever. Like I literally said, I think I put it on one of my captions on the thing, Midas touch, everything I touch turns to gold, not because of somebody else telling me it turns to gold, but because of how I see it. Everything I touch turns to gold. And because I'm so confident in that, I told you I learned from Kanye West, Donald Trump, Tekashi 6ix9ine. Donald Trump convinced the world he was a really successful businessman off of a TV show that wasn't real. Kanye West, very confident, very, very, very confident person, went out and created $1 billion brand. Now, I'm not saying personally, I don't have to care anything about these people. But what I'm saying is the confidence is what I feed off of. And me being the person I'm going to be the person who's going to determine how I feel about what I'm doing. I'm not looking for the validation from other people. When you stop caring about the validation of other people, then you can do things. And as long as you're willing to continue until, then you'll be able to get those goals accomplished. But it's understanding that it doesn't necessarily happen on your time. I'm going to give you this, what I just learned recently, right? And that is, this is a biblical reference, okay? All right, in the Bible, there's a story about Jesus, and there's a man named Lazarus, and he raised Lazarus from the dead, okay? Lazarus is sick. The people who are around Lazarus go to Jesus and say, hey, come heal Lazarus, he's sick. Jesus, take his time. He ain't in no rush. He takes his time. Lazarus dies. He gets there like 4 days after the man dies and gets to him. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, you should have been here. Why weren't you here? He was sick. You could have saved him. Why didn't he go there and save him? You want to know why? Because if he went there and saved him, it would have been Jesus the healer. If he went there after he died, it's Jesus the resurrector. What's more impactful? What's a bigger deal? Resurrecting or healing? And that's just an analogy. The wait is what caused the glory in that situation. The wait is what caused the success in the situation. The wait is why we can reiterate the story and it not just be another story. It's the wait. It's the process. That's why I say the process is more important than the product, because it's not what you acquire, it's what you become during that process, which is going to determine if you're going to be able to consistently keep that. Anybody can lose weight. How many people can keep the weight off? Everybody talks about how fast they lose weight. Not saying they gained 20 more pounds than they had before 2 months after that. Because what they did to get there wasn't something that they actually could sustain. So you can fake it until you make it, but how long can you stay making it?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You can fake it till you make it, but how long you gonna stay there? You build a house on sand, it's gonna fall. It don't matter how pretty it look on the outside or how good it look on your way up. I'm not going down. It's not falling. Because it's been authentic the whole way around. I didn't fake my way here. And so because of that, when I show my flaws, it don't surprise people. When I show when things don't go right, everybody don't come mudslinging me. Because I've been saying, I don't know what I'm doing the whole time. I'm just figuring this out as we go. I didn't expect my book to be a bestseller. I didn't expect people to buy the book like that. I didn't expect my page to blow up to what it is. I've been posting these videos since 2018. Until January of 2022, I only had 6,000 followers on Instagram.
Right.
I got 83,000 now.
Yeah.
That was 1 year. I've been posting 2018, 2019, 2020, 21. It wasn't none of that. It wasn't no monetization going on. It wasn't none of that stuff going on. So people see this end product and think I just had it all. I've been posting these same workouts when only 20 people was liking the video. If you go watch the videos of me doing the reels before it was even reels, when it was IGTV, when I was doing these talks, and I asked my wife, hey, you see my video? Oh, I wouldn't watch it. That was boring. It was too monotone. That was the feedback she used to give me. The videos are still up there. The reason why is because I learned from that. And I learned and I got better and I started, and the reels came out and I already had all the content. Most of the videos you see me posting right now, I recorded them in like 2021. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I got so much content. I don't even have to continue doing that. But because when people say, will you do, if you do what you do if you would do what you're doing for free, you can make a fortune doing it. That's a fact. The way you know somebody will do it for free is if they do it. Because I'm putting the content out here because I care. I'm putting the stuff out here because I care. If you're willing to show that side of you, then you'll be able to you'll experience the successes that you want to experience. But it's gonna take work, and I think a lot of times, we as entrepreneurs, it can be something that people oversimplify, and I don't want to oversimplify. I don't want to tell people how hard it is. I want to tell people that it's gonna be ups and downs, and I'm gonna tell people that you might not have money in your pocket at all times, and that's just how it goes. And even when you are at the point of quote unquote making it, you still gonna be stressed. You still gonna go up and down. You still the money gonna still do this. You still gonna learn. You still gonna have to learn how to manage your stuff, financially. You still gonna learn how to do all this other stuff. You still gonna have to learn how to run a business. It's gonna be errors that occur. It's gonna be all of this stuff that goes on. It's not a crystal stairway anywhere you go, and it's a lie if you think it is. But if you can accept that it isn't, you'll feel more comfortable because you know you ain't the only one going through it.
Right. all that's fact. That's funny that you say with the videos and all that. I keep my videos too. Trash. I'll be like, God dang, I was that. But it's so funny, like whenever you get to a level where even just editing and all that stuff, learning, like I'm still learning too. So I definitely agree with that. But shoot, so this is the last part of the pod. I call it Decoding the Real, and this is where on my podcast I like to be real and just whoever I bring on, the people that I bring on, I'm truly fans of. First off, to people out there that just be asking, "Hey Trey, let me get on the pod." It's no disrespect, but I am not a fan of everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm a very nice person. I feel like, but I'm not really that person that just want to bring everybody on my platform just because I know you or something. Like that's not how it goes. But yeah, man, just Decoding the Real, man. I have to say, I've been a fan of yours since high school. I think in the town that we at, it just wasn't cool to say, "Hey, Blair, I'm a fan." You know what I'm saying? Because then people will talk about you, they'll clown you, and all the other stuff that come with that. But yeah, man, been a fan. Still a fan to this day, bro. I love your content. I love the way how just how you talk to your followers. I love the businessman that you are. Also, just the example. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people might say that like you're a role model. I think you're more than a role model. You're a real model. Tupac said is either role models or real model. I think you showing your flaws, that means you're a real model. So when people look at you, they know like, oh, okay, nah, he a real person. Like he go through the same things that I go through, or he's not as confident sometimes as, you know, the perception of what you're supposed to be. And that's something that I aspire to be. I want to be a real model, not a role model. Somebody that's going through real life situations, somebody that's steady trying to elevate, somebody that's going to take a loss, but is going to tell people about their loss and accept what come with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, bro, I just want to give you that to all the flowers and just to you as a businessman, you as a person, and just you how you carry yourself. I want to let you know, bro, I truly, truly appreciate it. This ain't no cab, no for the cameras, none of that. Like
yeah,
that's why I did it.
Appreciate it, man.
Like, I mean, just on the camera, and yeah, man, thank you so much for coming to the show. Truly appreciate it. 2023 gonna be a big year. I'm so glad I got to start off with you. Literally, I was looking for the paper in here somewhere. I could not find it, but I'm gonna have to post it when I do find it. But literally, before I shot one episode, literally, people before episode 1, I literally wrote down the name like, oh man, I gotta interview this dude one day. But just the type of person I am, I probably could have got to you around other people. I'd rather do it direct. Because Lake Charles is a small town, but I also like wanted to, you know, for you to respect my content and respect me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just see like, oh damn, like I like what he's doing, and then make a decision based off that. Like, I'm not somebody that like to shortcut or just get people because I know them or relationship. Like I want to earn everything I get. Period. No skipping steps, no nothing. So thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate you, man. That was hey. Thank you, man. I appreciate that for sure.
What's up? Hey, man, I'm gonna have his socials up. To all the people out there, make sure y'all follow and subscribe and just tap in with him. Just a great person on all type of different levels. Like you can learn something literally from his page every day, no matter what field you're in, whether it's social media, whether it's training, whether it's business. Like he has his hands in a lot of different things. So y'all tap in with him, and also make sure y'all follow and subscribe to Decoding 2 Sides of the System, man. This episode was great. Peace.